Hi guys, my name's Madison. Thanks for checking out my channel. Today, I'm going to talk about The Eye of the World. So, I first heard about this story from Ryan and Kristen's channel at Seeking Stories. He did a video about the first episode and it sounded really interesting, so I decided to also watch the first episode even though I hadn't read the book yet. And that turned out to be a good thing because I liked the first episode enough to go and buy the book. I have finished the book now, I've finished the first 3 episodes, and I kind of want to talk about what I think of the book and what I think of the series, the TV series so far. I will start with a quick summary of the book, then I'll talk about things I liked and things I didn't like, and then I'll share my thoughts on the TV series as well. The Eye of the World is the first book in a fantasy series that is extremely long. It might be like 14 books or something. And it's predominantly about these 4 kids who live in a small village in the middle of nowhere, and terror comes to their village and it's after them. And so they have to run away to protect their village, and then they end up going on this quest basically to save the world. You know, these things do happen, right? So that's the basic storyline, and there's all kinds of magical creatures. There's basically like an elf witch lady who is their guide. There's a giant ogre person. There are basically dragons and ring wraiths, although of course they're not ring wraiths, but they seem a lot like ring wraiths. So anyway, there's a lot of inspiration from Tolkien, but it's still a good story. Next, I'll talk about the things I liked in this story. I really liked the magic system in the story. You have these women who are kind of in between witches and elves, and they can wield this power which just comes from the universe, kind of like the Force, right? And some of them are good, some of them are bad, and it just is more about how they use the power, and I found that very interesting, the way that they are in control of the world, more or less. You know, they think they're in control of the world, I suppose is how you could put it. And also I found it interesting that in the stories of this world, the Aes Sedai are the bad guys, and so when one pops up in this small village and ends up being the guide for these characters, these kids, as they flee from the evil that is chasing them, that made for an interesting story. The magic system in general I really enjoyed as well. I really liked the guide characters in this book. I'm not sure if that's what they're called in like literary classes or whatever, but the people along the way who guide the children, they were a lot of fun. Moiraine and Lan, that's the Aes Sedai and her warder dude, they're a great pair. I really enjoyed Tom, who is he's basically a traveling musician, and he ends up hanging out with them for a while. And then there's Elias, who is a wolf man, and he hangs out with some of them for a little while. These guide characters, also Loyal, he's like a giant, they take these kids under their wings, and their relationships are all unique. Their place in this world are also unique. Their places in this world are unique. That's probably better. But I really, really enjoyed those characters as well. To me, they were the most unique and interesting characters in the story. Speaking of characters, I also liked that each and every one of the kid characters, Rand, Egwene, Perrin, and Mat, as they are leaving their small town and journeying out into the world, even though they're on this journey together, each of them have their own unique experiences in the world, each of them have their own challenges, and each of them end up dealing with the magic in the world in a different way. And it made the story unique and interesting, and made the characters likable, because as I'll get to in a second, I don't actually like the kids. But finally, the last thing I really enjoyed about this story is the idea that there's this prophecy. We don't exactly know what the prophecy is. We just know that there's going to be a dragon reborn, and we're not even exactly sure what that means, which sounds like you don't know anything, and that's true. You really don't know a whole lot. But Robert Jordan does a good enough job of keeping you guessing and keeping you intrigued that you still do want to finish or move on in the series even at the end of it. Or I still wanted to continue on with the series even at the end of it just because of all the questions I still have. Okay, now for the things I didn't really like about this story. I really did not like the kid characters. There's way too much teenage angst, and I found it super annoying. Specifically between Rand and Egwene. That's just that whole little love thing they have going on is very immature and frustrating. I don't think I enjoyed stories like that when I was young, and I don't enjoy them now. But like I said, each of their own individual experiences in the world were interesting enough to keep me reading, even though Egwene is super annoying and immature, and you know, whatever. Also, like, even Nynaeve, I really liked Nynaeve's character. She's called the Wisdom in the book, and she travels along with the kids to help them out. And she ends up falling in love with Lan, which is great. Definitely a great idea. Except that after she admits her love for him and they have their little connection, such as it was, every time he goes to do his job, which is to protect everybody, and more specifically to protect Moiraine, she freaks out and yells, "Oh no, Lan, don't do that!" And that's stupid. If you're going to fall in love with a warrior, you best let him be a warrior. I don't like that aspect of it. So basically, whenever the women happen to have a love interest, I find that's really, really silly every time it's written about. But you know, you can get past that. The other thing I didn't like in this story was the pacing. It was not great. I think the whole middle chunk of the book felt like one chase scene after another, with not a whole lot of variety in them, except that you would have a chase scene and then basically one of those guide characters would have a page of explanation, then a chase scene and then a page of explanation. And it was repetitive, and while the scenes with the guide characters were really interesting and you learned so much, it could have been done differently. The pacing definitely could have been improved to make the story more interesting. So now I'm going to talk about the show. I have watched the first 3 episodes of the show. I know there are lots of other booktubers and YouTubers out there who are going to give you a more detailed analysis of each individual episode, and plus they've watched the whole thing. It's not what I'm gonna do here. What I actually want to do is talk about why I liked the show better, so far anyway. I really think the show so far manages to fix all the problems I had with the book. So first of all, let's talk about the characters. The show makes all of the kid characters a little bit older, so they're not like 15 and 16, they're like 20, in their early 20s. And so that means that they are slightly less annoying, slightly. But also Mat and Perrin in particular get a little bit more of a backstory, and Perrin's backstory is different. I'm not going to spoil the first episode for you, but the reason I decided to buy the book and continue with the series is because of Perrin. What happens to him, or what he does in the first episode, was just... I cried a little bit, I'm going to be honest. I appreciated that the creators of the show gave Mat and Perrin a lot more depth in their characters. Their motivations are far more realistic once they actually get out on the journey. So it just makes more sense, and it makes for a better story. Now, I'll be honest, the Rand and Egwene thing is still annoying. Egwene is annoying in the book, and she is annoying in the show. She's incredibly selfish in the way that she deals with Rand, and I don't like that in stories. I find it annoying. That whole Egwene problem still exists, but, you know, at least Mat and Perrin are really awesome characters in the show. The show also made some really excellent choices, in my opinion, with how they rearranged some of the scenes, how they took out some of the scenes, and then how they changed when some things happened. They took out a lot of the chase scenes Okay, and they condensed parts of that story, and then they changed when the characters first meet Logan or Logain for the first time, and I really, really liked that. In the book, that scene where they see the false dragon for the first time is kind of anticlimactic because it's couched right in the middle of meeting like 6 new characters. It's right in the middle of a big city. There's a lot going on, and so I don't think it packed as big of a punch as the author hoped that it would. But then in the show, the scene where they first meet Logan, it comes at the end of an episode. It's different characters who see him for the first time. It's a meeting of the Aes Sedai, so you get to meet the Red Aes Sedai for the first time. And it was just really well done. I thought it was brilliant in the show. And I really appreciate the changes that they made. It would be really fascinating to be like a fly on the wall as the creators of the show were deciding how to rearrange the book, because it did an excellent job. Okay, so the final thing I'm going to say is that I am definitely going to continue reading this series, and I'm going to continue reading this series because I still have so many questions that I want answered, and I'm hoping to get those answers as I continue the story. So, like for example, I read the whole book called The Eye of the World, and I still don't really understand what the Eye of the World was. Why is it called the Eye of the World? And the things that were in the Eye of the World, what do those mean for the rest of the story? I really want to find out. I also want to find out about Rand and what it means that I think he, is the Dragon Reborn. What will his role really be in this universe, in this world? I want to know if we're going to see more of Tom and Elias. I loved those characters. I do think we will see more of them. I'm really hoping that Tom comes back into the story and he's the one who teaches Rand, or helps Rand figure out how to use the magic, since, you know, he's a man and if he uses it, he'll go insane. I'm hoping that Tom is part of fixing that problem. There's also this mystery behind who Rand's parents are, why he looks so different from the rest of his friends from the Two Rivers. That's a little bit of a mystery that I'm looking forward to finding out about. And so in general, even though there are things I did not like about this book, there were some really great characters, some really interesting storylines that I know I'm going to get to see more of in the next books, and that's why I'm going to keep reading them. Okay, so let me know what you guys think of the books or the show. Which one did you like better? I know we'll have some interesting answers there. Let me know, and as I continue watching the show and reading the books, I will keep you updated. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye!